spook easily stung.
Have you ever explored the depths of fear? Have you ever wondered what depravity dwells within the imagination of a storyteller that prompts them to exhume horrors untold and expose those horrors to unsuspecting audiences? Some are repulsed, and some are shaken. However, there are those who are invigorated. So to those demented souls, we invite you to journey inward into the dark bowels of human imagination. Press play, and you will discover what's in the podcast.
Please explode! It's not a joke! It's not a joke!
Look at the plane! It's gonna blow up! It's gonna blow up!
Death. There are no accidents, no coincidences, and no escapes.
What if it was our time? What if we were not meant to get off that plane? What if there is a design?
By walking off the plane, you're cheating death. You have to figure out when it's coming back at you.
Now, can you promise me that no one else is going to die?
And welcome back to another edition of What's in the Podcast. Back to Legacies of Fear. Once again, I know I previously announced that we were going to tackle the Omen series, but right now I am gone into full overdrive with Fringe right now. And I am just trying to cling at anything that I can do to fill my time slots until then. And actually, by wonderful coincidence, a new entry in this series is coming out very, very soon. So it seemed like the right time to spotlight the movie that actually gave a lot of people the proper definition of a Rube Goldberg. That would definitely be the Final Destination series. That the first entry came out in 2000 and was created by Jeffrey Reddick, which came from an idea originally meant for the X-Files. But the idea was so good that they decided to just do something separate from it and make its own movie. And here we are now, 25 years later, with a new movie coming out very, very soon. I'm not going to say it's the last film release of Tony Todd, because funny enough, he actually had a whole bunch of other ones in the can that are actually coming out gradually, because that man never stopped. We already pay tribute to Tony Todd, but that's not going to stop me from saying R.I.P. Rest in power, Tony Todd. But I'm not going to do this on my own. For this, of course, I'm bringing back my friend who we went through painstaking efforts to make heads or tails of the Saw franchise. We coming back to do something a hell of a lot easier by comparison, and also just to give you a chance to talk about things unsaw related. Emily, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
All right. It was actually your idea for us to tackle Final Destination. So, big question. What was the motivation, aside from the fact that we have a new one coming out soon?
That was helpful for it, but I love this series. I just do. It's so every time I rewatch them, I have to giggle because it's so goofy how all these deaths are played out.
Yeah. In fact, hilariously, I do have a funny history with Final Destination, but at the same time, not a substantial one, because I'd only seen the first two when they initially came out, and then I just didn't bother until now. And I actually sat down and binged 3, 4, and 5
Nice.
to go with it in preparation for this. But yeah, now I will happily say I am pumped and ready for Final Destination Bloodlines. And obviously, by the time and for our audiences, last time when we tackled Saw, we had to compile them together in chapters. This time around, no, we're doing it like we do always, one episode for each installment. So have no fear. We're going to get thorough with each and every individual entry in this one. Since there now are, with the new one, Bloodlines, will be only 6 in the series. So today we will focus entirely on the first film that came out in 2000, directed by James Wong, written by Glenn Morgan and Jeffrey Reddick, along with James Wong. You remember your first time going to see the original movie?
Vaguely. I saw it in theaters, and I don't remember seeing trailers to it. I must have. I worked at the theater at the time, but it's just, to me, this series, and since then, I don't think anybody's tried to do it again. I haven't seen any ripoffs of it. Like, there are Saw ripoffs out there, sure, but I don't think I've ever seen a movie where I'm like, this is trying to be Final Destination. Like, I don't know.
I'd say The Monkey came pretty damn close.
Yeah, you're right about that one. Yeah.
Yeah, but even then, that's so far removed. I wouldn't even call it like an outward
Hmm.
ripoff, but I would definitely say it's in the camp
Oh yeah.
of some otherworldly force causing horrible, bloody, violent death. The only difference is the monkey is funny as fuck.
Yeah, that is definitely is a unique movie all on its own.
Actually, to be more precise, the monkey is deliberately hilarious, whereas the
Hmm.
Final Destination series, it's hard to tell whether or not they're being deliberate in their humor or not.
Right.
But I enjoy it regardless.
Yeah.
My story, I will never forget my first time going to see Final Destination. I was in my senior year in high school when the first one came out. This concept, the trailers did a really good job selling on the idea, so I was actually really intrigued to see it because I thought this was a cool idea.
Hmm.
But the other thing that's really, really funny about it, I didn't think about this until literally after walking out of the theater. Uh, of course, actually, you know what? In order to understand my feeling on it, go ahead and give me a synopsis to the first Final Destination.
In case somebody doesn't know what Final Destination is about, the movie stars the character Alex, who, with his high school class, are all going to Paris. And while on his way to the plane, and when he's in the plane, he starts getting really horrible feelings, like something terrible is about to happen. He starts seeing little hints that the universe is sending him that something's about to happen. And while he's sitting on the plane, he experiences after takeoff, it explodes in this amazing scene, in my opinion, of just the
Hmm.
plane tearing apart, catching on fire. There's blood spray out of nowhere. Not sure what happened there. We got people getting sucked out of the windows, that the wall that got torn apart. Just a horrific scene. And then right after it happens, he wakes up back in the plane like nothing ever happened, but it felt so real. So he thinks he just saw a vision of what's about to happen. And he starts freaking out and panicking. And he and six other people get kicked off the plane, and what are you doing, like, you being an asshole, like you just cost us
Yeah.
our trip. And then all of a sudden the plane explodes after takeoff, so he and these other people just cheated death, and death is not very happy about it. So one by one, as the days go on, they will start to die in a
Mm.
specific pattern because death is pissed at them. And Alex,
And
in this one, is the only one until the end, at least, who can see these deaths coming, and he can get like hints that something's about to happen.
awesome, very thorough, very, very precise. I love it. So yeah, so as you said, it was a trip to Paris that initiates this whole thing. Well, I myself was was only a couple weeks away from getting on a plane to go out to London.
Ooh, you got to
And
do one of those.
I didn't think about that. I didn't, yeah, it was a school trip. It was a school theater trip. I was going out to London to basically go see theater. And it was
Cool.
a lovely trip, by the way. I actually went to Stratford upon Avon to go see a performance by the Royal Shakespeare Company of As You Like It. It was fantastic.
Nice.
Um, I actually got to see the home of his wife, and people were much shorter back then. Um, way shorter. Yeah,
They were built
so
shorter back then.
yeah, but I will say flat out, like one of the greatest weeks of my life, right next to when I got married to Lynn in Vegas, was when I went out to London, and it was great. But anyway, vacation reminiscing aside, we walk out of the theater, and my friend who I went to, is like going, the thing that makes this funnier is that John's going out to London in a couple weeks.
And you were like, great. I didn't even think about that, but
Yeah, I really funny, legitimately did
oh,
not think about that.
so if somebody starts
It's like,
freaking out on the plane, maybe you should listen to them.
yeah, I probably should. Well, if there's anything that is a model of this entire franchise, is that even if you do like get off
Sure.
the plane, you're still kind of fucked no matter what, because it's very blatantly clear is that death is petty as fuck
Yeah,
in
yeah,
this
yeah.
franchise.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
So the
and
cast,
and we'll discuss all the rules that we discover and that they seem to make up as they go in this movie.
oh baby, I mean, for all of our talks about the convoluted plotting of Saw, I mean, I'm going to tell you now, the rules of Final Destination from installment to installment do not make a lick of sense in terms of
It's whatever was
consistency.
convenient at the time of making that movie.
Yes. Yes.
I was like, wait a minute, you guys are going
Yes.
back on these rules now?
You go
Death just
back on this
and
shit?
who's to say death is following rules, man?
Yeah. It doesn't. So the cast of this one, actually, the lead is Devon Sawa, and at the time, Devon Sawa was kind of billed out as a teen heartthrob at
Hmm.
that time. I remember first time I ever heard about him was that film Wild America with Jonathan Taylor Thomas and I think it was Brad Renfro. I think was in that as well, but that was like a big old like trip triumvirate of teen heartthrobs. But there's
Hmm.
like I think the first film I actually saw Devon Sawa in. Today, holy shit, Devon Sawa is everywhere in horror right now, and I am 100% here for it because he is freaking great in everything I've seen him in. He most recently he was in Hard Eyes,
Hmm.
but he has become the Kenny of Chucky.
Yeah.
Literally, yeah,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
is in every season of Chucky, always
Hmm.
playing a different character, and every time he dies like this horrible, grisly, bloody death.
That's pretty funny. I
Eh,
love that.
It's oh no, and I love on back in the glory days of Twitter, him and Chucky had like a big old bitch fest between each other. Like they kept like taking pot shots at each other. It got to the point where at when season 3 of Chucky was kicking off, Fangoria had an amazing cover of Devon Sawa tied up, and it says, "Buy this issue of Fangoria, or Chucky will kill Devon Sawa again."
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's gonna
So
happen anyway. Too bad.
yeah, Devon Sawa is yeah, I love everything about him right now with the horror scene. He's just one of the great like people who just represent the genre so damn well,
Hmm.
and I'm really happy he's kind of found that niche for him. But it really kind of well between this and Idle Hands because I think they came out at the same time. This was kind of
Hmm.
like his beginnings in the horror genre. So, did you have any kind of opinion on Devon Sawa at the time, or were you just like
No, I
pretty
was a
boy?
yeah, I was a kid. I don't know. I just I think I saw Idle Hands later on, and I was like, hey, that's Alex, because to
Hmm.
me, he's always going to be Alex. Like this is the character. Same with Clear. Like these are the characters I remember them as most, so that's like what I'm going to remember them.
See, it's funny with Ali Larter, who plays Claire Rivers. I did not actually. I saw Final Destination beforehand, but I just didn't. She was great in the movie, so she left it. So, but I didn't actually recognize her until House on Haunted Hill.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, because she basically played the final girl in that one as well, and she was spectacular. I will go to bat for the House on Haunted Hill remake. I love that remake. Yeah, when the ending goes all CGI crazy, yeah, that's
Hmm.
where it kind of falls apart. But by God, everything leading up to it is just a ride. I love
I
that movie.
mean,
But Ali,
if we attacked every movie that had an ending with a CGI and nonsense, then we'd be attacking 13 Ghosts, and I'm not going to do that either.
oh, I will. Oh no, 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 baby. Yeah, I will
You want to talk
not
about remakes
attack.
with CGI endings?
Yeah, well, even then, that one honestly was nowhere near as bad as House on Haunted Hill. It's just that, and it's sad
That
because the
one scene.
visual concept of it was cool because it had that like Rorschach
Yeah.
concept, which was pretty cool, and then also conducive to the whole idea of what the true menace of the house was. So
Mhm.
it was a great idea. It was just let down by the fact that the CGI was just awful.
Yeah, one scene. I was like, oh man, that did not age well.
No, not at all. One day I would like to get around to talking about that movie because that movie was a kind of a riot. Back on my YouTube days, me and Lynn did a great discomfort flicks talking about 13 Ghosts because we adore the shit out of that movie.
Nice. Yeah, it's great.
So, well, actually, yeah. Well, actually, funny enough,
Oh, very
got the
cool.
key.
Hey,
Yeah,
nice.
and you can't see it, but up above I've got the Black Zodiac
Oh, very nice.
as well. So, but anyway, that's a story for a different day. But but this this is the other thing about this cast. This was also populated by a bunch of people who were well, one cast member in this movie was Sean William Scott, who kind of became massively successful by playing Stifler
Mm-hmm.
and pretty much played every variation of that character for years
Yeah.
later on. But this is actually, I think, the one time he plays the comic relief character where he's actually kind of lovable and adorable, and you actually feel bad for this poor hapless little schmuck.
Yeah.
You're like, oh come on, Death. He could do wonderful things. He could be a sweet person. Just you let him live.
It's just a little goofy. Yeah.
He's a little goofy.
It's just a little
Um,
goofy.
yeah. So gradually when you find well, when of course, we get the big explosion and everything like that. When Death starts like it'd be one thing if Death just kill people and just random like that. No, Death decides to play mousetrap with these people.
Sometimes there are a couple that were just like, all right, we gotta kill him. Hurry up. Like get it over with, like Terry and Carter.
Yeah. Well, actually, no, there was one, and people have actually traced it back to this one. I think this was the start of the famous not realizing you're standing in the road kill, and then you get hit by a bus. I think this was
Mm-hmm.
like the start of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a lot of
later
that
on.
now.
Oh yeah, that happens all. Well, hell, Smile too.
And these buses
Smile
are
too, mostly.
silent up until they hit them, and then they're really loud.
Or at the very least, they're violating the speed limit like so bad.
They're always speeding straight for that person right in the road.
Yeah, no, see, I feel like in order, actually, this is a good opportunity. Let's go ahead and just talk about the standing in the road kill. It's like, what do you think it is that makes that one work? Because I've seen many where you can see them blatantly standing in the road, and you're just going, get out of the road,
Mm-hmm.
get out of the road,
Mm-hmm.
get out of the road.
Well, I think it also depends on what movie you're watching. I think the most shocking I saw, I guess not a death, but an attack like that was Mean Girls, where it's like
Oh
I
yeah,
wouldn't even have thought that would
you
happen
didn't
in a
even think, you
comedy.
didn't think, yeah, exactly. You didn't think that this was going to be that kind of movie, but then no,
Oh,
fucking Rachel
wow.
McAdams gets plowed by a goddamn bus. Oh,
A
didn't get
speeding school bus.
speeding school bus. And you got to think about the mechanics of that, where you're like, wait a minute, like, that's a bad driver not paying attention to what's blatantly in
They
front
always
of them.
are. They always are.
So I think that's the key. You got to stage it where the driver of said vehicle does not have any kind of reaction time
We
to
never
swerve out
even
of the
meet him.
way.
We usually never even meet him. We never find out what happens afterwards to them because that driver's going to jail. They just killed somebody.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, they could have plausible deniability just because it's like they just sprang out into the road in front of me. And in the case of this one definitely falls underneath that heading because you actually see her take a couple steps out right before she gets
Mhm.
smashed by the bus. So yeah, this one you can. I'd say like the best example leading that since this one did that was Smile 2. I think the beginning of Smile
Oh
2
yeah.
with Kyle
Yeah.
Gallner. And the reason why that one works is that you're already so caught up in the madness of everything leading
Hmm.
up to that moment that just feels like a punctuation on it, but that one's really well done.
And it's such an interesting thing that that same death, getting hit by a bus in the road, can range anywhere from really comical to really shocking. Because in Smile, that's not funny, but in Mean Girls and in this movie, kind of comical.
Oh yeah. And I think I remember vividly when it happened. I remember the whole theater like jumped out of their seats when it happened because and to the credit of James Wong, the director, the way he
Mhm.
staged that scene, and it comes after a very intense scene where all the characters are like arguing with each
Yeah,
other, and
because there's
she's
five people in this town. They keep finding each other.
yeah, just by wonderful coincidence, they keep finding each other, and they're all like saying, we are not being targeted, we're not being, and she's just like, I just want to fucking live, man. I
Yeah.
just want to keep, I just want to keep doing it.
So
Fuck you all, I'm done, and just
never make a
boom.
bold speech, as we learn from Deep Blue Sea. Never make a bold speech. You're gonna die right afterwards.
Foreshadowing, people. That's going to be one of our Nature Strikes Back episodes coming up soon.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh no. But yeah, I just remember. I'm the more I think about this movie, the more vividly I think I remember just my experience going to see the movie in theaters. And I remember it was such a gas. It was such a riot.
Hmm.
I think because to the credit, prior to this, I don't think I've ever seen a movie like this that actually personified death. It's a slasher. If you want to be technical, Final Destination is a slasher.
Hmm.
It's just that the slasher in question is death itself.
Yeah, and how do you fight that?
Exactly. I think that was the thing that kept me from the series for so long. And I think a lot of it was because, and I guess we'll get into it when we get to Final Destination 2 later on. I just kept thinking to myself, it's like, well, yeah, maybe they dodge death like at this point, but ultimately in the end, no matter what,
Yeah, for
you're
whatever
always,
reason, they never realized that that pattern that they're following could start over. So they just think, oh, I
Mhm.
skipped me, and now I just find it goofy that Def like took a vacation for 6 months and let them think they won. And then it's like, no,
Yeah,
it's gonna start over. Like there's no rules. Death doesn't follow your weird like human rules that you're making up for it.
yeah, precisely. And the and now a lot of the entries later on, and when we get to them, we'll get to them, but there is an existential level to this entire series, which some of them do take the time to talk about.
Hmm.
Specifically, the idea of just we're spending so much time like trying to not die, we forget to live. And there actually comes a point in this movie where Alex cordons himself off in a cabin, and he's like putting on welding gloves so that way he can just eat what can best be
Well, yeah,
described
and
as
when I
cat
see,
food.
what are you talking about? It's my favorite food in the world.
Yeah, oh, it's ham.
It's
Okay, is
deviled
that what
ham.
that is?
Yeah.
Is that what that is?
Yeah,
Okay,
because you
it looked
cannot
like
choke on it. It's like cat food.
okay. All right, I was wondering what the hell that was when I looked at it. I was like going, is that fucking I thought it was like a American Horror Story hotel when they fed the hipsters cat food,
Yeah.
making them think it was pate, which
Yeah, it's basically pate.
it's basically pate.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
is
like
that what
a
that
it's like a
is?
ham
Okay.
pate version, like not livery, but it's good.
Yeah.
It's just
But I love
it's funny
yeah.
because seeing that scene, I was like, "What's your plan here? Are you gonna just live in this cabin forever?"
Yeah. Yeah, that's impossible. I mean, it's like quite literally physically and even psychologically impossible. Inevitably, you're going to crack.
Yeah.
You're going to snap, and you're going to want to get the hell out of there. And just because, and Kara Smith, who played Carter, there's a cool sequence where uh, when the pattern comes out, and he's like, "Well, if I'm not next, then maybe I can do whatever the fuck I want," and actually starts tear-assing in his car with everyone in there. It's like, well, hey,
I
I'm not
choose
gonna
when I
die.
die. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was his
And
like big bold. I'm taking a stance against death, and it's like you're just scared. We get it, but like don't take all of us with you.
yeah. Well, that's a good thing to just talk about on the well, again, there's a really when I finally did this binge through, I really kind of started to appreciate the thematic ideas behind it. But I mean, because that is something we all think about. I mean, as we get older, that's something that preys on us like every single day is that I mean, of course, let's go into some chicken soup for the soul philosophies here. But yeah, the idea of embracing life as much as possible because you never know when it's going to happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what do you do when you actually are faced with the reality that death is actually quite literally coming for you? Like, what do you
Mm-hmm.
do? How do you react? I mean, do you just surrender to it or do you try to fight it? And if you try to fight it, are you living? Are you truly living
Right.
at that point? I'm reluctant to continue on talking about because I know the second one actually gets into it a little bit more, but
Mm-hmm.
but this one still does a good job. Kind of. I mean, I suppose we could just talk about our own feelings on the matter. So, what are your feelings on just that idea as a whole?
Um, it's yeah, it definitely has that like existential thought to every one of these movies where it's like, I kind of feel like at this point I go into these movies knowing everybody's gonna die, which is like it takes the fun out of being like, are they gonna figure out how to beat death this time? It's like, no,
Yeah.
of course they're not. Which is like that's dreadful feeling. Like I have a friend who will not see the new one because he's like, I don't like the fact that it's such a hopeless movie. He didn't like smile for that reason too. It's such a hopeless like fight. But
Hmm.
when they personify death as like a villain is interesting to me. It gives it that idea that maybe we can figure out how to outsmart it, especially when it comes to like, there's definitely a lot of supernatural elements to this movie that I don't know if I feel like they toned it down later. Like in this one, they had like in um in Todd's death scene in the bathroom, the water
Yeah.
creeps back into the toilet. And I was like, why is Death trying to cover up what happened? I'm confused as to why
Yeah.
that was a thing. Like it was an accident. So they ruled it as a suicide instead. And I was like, what does Death care how they saw what happened? Like it was an accident.
Exactly.
What,
Yeah. It's
why?
like no witnesses.
No
We
witnesses.
can't let
Yeah.
them know that it was me.
Yeah. I was like, they're not going to ever think it's Death anyway. They all think it's Alex. Like, we have a
Yeah,
perfect
accident or
scapegoat.
suicide, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
So I found that odd that in this movie they did
Death.
that. I don't think they kept doing that. I don't think they kept having like
No, they did. They
Death
did. Yeah.
trying to hide what went on here.
It's like death is like going, no, I can't. I've got priors.
Yeah. I can't go back to jail again, man.
I can't go back there, man. I can't.
It's just so goofy. I was like, wait, why are they trying to hide the death? And I think that was like the only death where that happened. I was like, what? Why? Because you just really want them to think it was a suicide for some reason. Why does Death care?
Exactly. Well, there could be. I mean, there could be that idea that death is not just playing with, its victims, but it's also playing with the other characters. Because
Mhm.
one thing that does happen to Alex after surviving Flight 180 is that people start reacting to him differently. It even
Oh
starts
yeah.
distancing Alex from other people because people are
Uh,
either scared of him.
mhm.
Some of them, are, of course, don't like the idea that there's someone out there who could see when I die.
Mhm.
And it does actually put Alex in a bad footing because he's also being like eyed by the freaking feds.
The very, very unhelpful feds who are constantly just following this guy around because there's nothing else to do in this town. But he's
Yeah,
also really bad at not looking crazy suspicious.
yeah, unfortunately, yeah. I mean, because then soon afterwards, of course, the one person who's just scared shitless of him is his teacher, Mrs. Luton,
And he
and
comes
he's
creeping around her car in the middle of the night like, Alex, dude,
Alex,
you
my
couldn't look
dude.
more suspicious right now. Checking her
I
tires, making sure they're safe. Like, what are you doing, man?
I know this is the age before Instagram, but you know what? This still doesn't look good, no
Really
matter how you
doesn't.
spin this shit.
God, couldn't have just walked up to her door like a normal person and been like, I really gotta talk to you.
It's like, listen, come with me.
Yeah, if
Let's
you
talk about
want
this
to live.
rationally.
Yeah.
Come with me if
Instead,
you
you're
want to
just going to be
live.
the creepiest dude ever.
Yeah, yeah, which of course leads us to Mrs. Luton's death, which this would
Dude.
this is the death that would become like innate with the entire franchise. Like this is the kind of death that we would see play out
Dude,
so many times.
this death was like, death was pissed and he was taking out everything on this poor teacher.
Oh man, this was the R-rated equivalent to O.J. Simpson at the beginning of Naked Gun, right here.
Yes.
This was, and I will say I didn't think about it the first time I saw it because I also didn't think about, well, science, but there was something I didn't think about the fact that, oh, wait a minute, she previously had a hot beverage in that cup, but then she proceeds to put a cold beverage in there, causing the ceramic to crack. I was like going, oh, science.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. But even then, though I tend to notice when my mug is leaking or anything like that because
Oh, yeah.
because if you look
Drip,
at
drip, drip,
that
drip.
mug when it's leaking, it is like, no, it's not dripping. That thing is
It's,
pissing.
yeah, it's streaming all over the floor.
I would notice that shit, especially because she's got herself a hardwood floor.
Mm-hmm.
If it was carpet,
You can
yeah, that'd be
hear
like,
it. Yeah. I mean, you can hear
yeah,
it in the audio as she's walking around. Like, I know music's playing, but like, you can still hear the dripping of everything.
yeah, yeah. Fucking John Denver's playing, yeah.
Oh, they love music in Final Destination.
Yeah, they do.
Oof.
They love that foreshadowing music, but there is something kind of fucked up about and something right about the fact that it's John Denver
The plane
playing Rocky
crash,
Mountain
yeah.
High.
And he
Yeah,
mentions that
because
when he's in the airport, he was like, "Hey, the song, like
yeah,
Denver died in a plane crash." I'm like,
and
"Oh,
that was still fresh in people's minds. I actually
mm,
remember vividly when it happened. I was performing Rocky Horror at the time, and I think it was around the time I was on my way to a performance that's
mm,
that came out that John Denver died in a plane crash. I think actually in the Rocky Mountains, I think, funny enough.
yeah,
Yeah, something like that. Well, that's just
yeah,
ironic. I don't know. I'd have to look
yeah."
that up. But even then, so I love the fact that they use that as a great
Hmm.
little foreshadowing to what we're going to encounter. Though I do know they don't just stick with that song. I know with like the
Oh
movies to
yeah,
come, they
oh
use like
yeah.
different songs to.
They love sticking to one song, but man, those like three especially, which is my favorite one. The
Oh,
music they
really?
use, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Somebody's
All right.
watching, like it's just like the world is letting you know through music that you're fucked. Like you're in trouble right now. Which a small fun anecdote is one of the movies, I don't remember which one it was, that when I was in the parking lot of the movie theater about to go see it, um, Possum Kingdom started playing on the radio. The part of the song that just says "Do you wanna die?" And I was like, "Turn that off." Nope. Gonna go
Nope.
see Final Destination now. All right.
Oh dear God. Oh. Oh yeah. So, but even that, I just remember first time I saw this death. Now, again, this was also that time when I was like, I mean, fortunately, I was of age and I was allowed to go see these movies, but I don't think I'd ever seen anything like this where the death just kept punishing. I think the most funniest one of all was just pulling down the rag and then just the knives just perfectly land on top of her,
And then
and the
he
knives land.
runs in and tries to save her by putting his fingerprints all over everything and his footprints all over everything. And then a chair comes down and finishes the job. And then we're not done. The house then explodes.
And unrealistically burns because of the vodka trail. And it's like vodka
Right.
doesn't burn, my guy.
Yeah.
Vodka does not
I
burn.
thought I thought when I was a kid that was her blood trail, but I was like, is blood flammable?
I mean,
Because
given
it
how
was
much booze she
following
drinks, possible.
her. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
no, no, yeah, it was supposed to be vodka. Well, it's like they're saying that the vodka is what was doing it, but I was like going,
Yeah,
yeah, but
yeah.
vodka doesn't burn. Vodka doesn't
Oh,
burn. But again,
don't think about
but then
it.
again, death doesn't ritualistically stalk people, but yet here we
As a
are.
shadowy
So
figure in everybody's mirror, and they're like, "Huh? What was that?"
yeah, death will like change the physics of burning alcohol.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So we'll just
Death loved its drippy water. Drippy water is Death's favorite.
yeah. Yes, it is. Now that drippy water and bad electrics, like
Oh
really
God.
faulty electrics,
Mm-hmm.
like honestly, I feel like this whole universe of Final Destination exists only because OSHA sucks.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that
No,
OSHA
it's true.
is just not doing their job.
There's
So
always
for
some
all we
screw loose somewhere that's like holding up the whole building.
yeah, that's always yeah, you're right. Yeah, now that I think about it, yeah, this whole thing just because people are not keeping their homes up to
Yeah.
code,
Yeah.
and just electrics are just not nowhere near or put together by Mr.
Yeah.
Magoo.
Just
Uh,
a lot of sharp objects just hanging about all the time. I see.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, I think the other rhythm of this, especially about this movie in particular, is that it's a very well orchestrated film. Where in terms of the fact that you get so caught up in the emotion of one scene
Hmm.
that you are almost caught unawares when something else is going to happen, even though they do have little like when
Oh yeah.
well yeah, when Sean William Scott gets killed, you're caught up in the emotion of the fact that they just got out of that car, narrowly avoided the train hitting them,
Yeah. There's no
and
way
it just
another death is right around the corner, right?
yeah, or some near death thing. And even then, a lot of times when you see something that is very clearly being set up to be instrumental in the kill,
Mhm.
you're going, well, what is actually going to happen? How is that even possible? It's something that seems like innocuous is going to come into play later on. In this case, just this one bit of scrap metal that's under the
Just kind of
train,
wiggling around. Yeah.
wiggling around.
Yeah.
And even that, what's it going to be? And then they hits it, lops his head off. Just a nice, good, classic beheading.
He just positioned himself perfectly for that too. Again, another bold speech with your back to the danger. You set yourself up for
Yeah.
it, my guy.
And so many times they set up like he's going to die like in something so innocuous as being run over because he rides around haphazardly on his bicycle,
Hmm.
constantly getting harassed by freaking Carter
Hmm.
in that car. Yeah, and keep just call him you dick or something like that.
Oh yeah. He's just
Yeah,
ever since the beginning, he was just like, Carter, you dick. But that
yeah,
was
Carter, you
that
dick.
that's definitely an element of like, and I've tried to avoid the trailers of the new movie because goddamn is it so spoilery. And I
Oh,
cannot
baby.
stand how it's just showing you full on death scenes. But I can see
Oh,
that it's still following this theme of like a death's about to happen, but the movie is messing with the audience to figure out what's actually going to happen. Like, is it going to be him shaving himself? He going to cut himself shaving? Oh no, he put that down. Oh, he picked up some tweezers for his nose. Is he going to stab himself in the nose? No, no, he put that down. He's fine. Oh, he's about to plug in a jukebox so that the
yeah,
water's coming. You could electric. Nah, he's fine. He's fine. He's fine. Like it's
yeah.
messing with you, keeping you on edge the entire scene.
I will say, yeah, I love Todd's death. I mean, the
Mm,
way that is staged, that with the exception of the physics surrounding the clothesline, even then,
yeah,
I feel like that
the
is something that
slippiest
could even
bathtub in the
happen.
world.
But even then, they do a great job setting because these are all common household items. I mean, hell,
Hmm.
even my own bathtub has stuff that,
Oh
yeah, if it
yeah.
spilled out, it could make because I don't have a mat in mine. It's just
Hmm.
my feet are just naturally rough, and I'm also just
Yeah.
paranoid as fuck. So I'm always very cautious about the way I step in my tub.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So yeah, exactly. So yeah.
That death. Oh, since I was a child, the bloody eyes always got me with that death. I was just, oh
This
god.
Yeah, this is probably one of the best hangings I've ever seen portrayed on screen because it
Hmm.
does take Todd a while to die.
Yeah.
And we actually mentioned, I think we talked about it in a previous podcast where it actually does take a long time for someone to die by hanging, just
Yeah.
hanging.
Hmm.
And even worse, and it's a very fine chord, but they really portray that as that must be a terrifying way to die just in general. Just here he is, and he's flapping his legs, trying desperately, but
Hmm.
his feet are too slick, and it's like that is a god.
Yeah. And like slicing into his neck, as you see with his corpse later, it's
Mm,
just those lines are still there. Like, oh
so
God.
yeah. Actually, since we're on the topic, because yeah, in order for them to see those marks, they have to bust into the mortuary, and that is where we meet Mr. Bloodworth, played by Tony Todd, who
Hmm.
refers to Death as a Mac Daddy you don't want to fuck with,
Oh yeah.
which during that age when everyone was saying Mac Daddy, I think
It's
that's
hip,
a
it's
term we
cool.
need. Yeah, it's hip, it's cool, it's give me some skin, so brother. Yeah, kind of thing. But hey, we need to get Mac Daddy back in the rotation here. Yeah, it's, but we have to say it like Tony Todd, where it's like Mac Daddy.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm allowed to, man. Like, I don't know if I can pull that off.
Yeah, no one could do. Well, someone has to carry the raspy voice torch of Tony Todd now that we
Oh,
do not
man.
have him anymore. So let's go ahead and kick off talking about Bloodworth, because what the fuck is Mr. Bloodworth?
I have no idea. I guess you had to have an element in this movie that sort of helped them out with the explanation of what's going on, and he just
Oh yeah.
knows what's going on. You know,
Yeah.
he
There's no
feels
explanation for it.
the guy feels supernatural himself, and the fact that he just shows up when you need him to show up and explain to a whole new cast what's going on with his death. Because otherwise, it would take them the entire movie to figure out what's happening, and they'd all be
Oh
dead by
yeah.
then. Like, oh,
Oh
okay,
yeah.
cool. Thanks for the explanation. Now let's see if we can fight this thing.
And it would, but ultimately it begs the question, how does he know this shit?
No idea. He works with the dead. Maybe that's why.
He works with the dead. He may have a morbid fascination. Like on the most innocent level, yeah, that may just be his because he works with the dead, obviously loves his work, and obviously has a fascination with the concept of mortality.
Mhm.
But even then, some people have made some very interesting theories. One that's a very popular theory is that he is death.
Really? That he's just
That he
messing with them?
Oh yeah, well that in a way
Ooh,
this is like kind of Death's app game, kind of thing. And
interesting.
yeah, and that if he ever wants to get frisky, he's got to do a paywall and he's got to like pay for like, okay, I want to have like that. The prophecies are just like, okay, I want to pay a special game. Okay, $4.99. Okay, all right, go now. Let's really play the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, kind of
Interesting.
thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, actually, Lynn, bless them, they had this wonderful idea for a one act play
Mhm.
that actually like says that death's kind of like the whole area of death is kind of like Office Space, where
Mm.
death is like this put upon, data entry clerk who's trying to just get his records straight, but there's someone fucking with him
Oh my
because
God, these
someone like,
stupid teenagers. Every single time it's these teenagers.
or it's like who keeps giving him these fucking prophecies?
Right? And we never explain why these kids can see the future. We never talk about where this
Never
gift
an
came
explanation
from.
for that shit.
This is like the
Yeah.
one series we're just content with there being no explanation as to like what this gift is and why they have it.
Now, as a note, everybody, Bloodlines has not come out yet, and we have not watched it. I will say the advance buzz. Matt, our beloved friend Matt from Killer Horror Critic, did get a chance to go see an advanced screening, and he did say that it does actually.
Does it?
I'm
Well,
not
I guess
not
the
going to say explain, but it does actually give some perspective
okay.
on the franchise as a whole. So there may
Huh.
be an explanation. So we have wait to find out. But honestly, that's a good thing for the future. So but for now, as we sit, there is no explanation for these
Mhm.
prophecies, which leads me to wonder. To be dead honest, I think Death is bored, and sometimes I think he just
It's
likes
just playing a little
to.
game.
I think he likes to play a little game. I think
Okay.
if we want to apply it to like Death Note rules,
Hmm.
maybe he just like is sitting there like going, you know what? Gets vision of death,
Yeah.
brings, yeah, and then
Sprinkle a little vision onto that guy right there.
yeah, let's give it a go. And kind of yeah, it may be like Death's equivalent to like upsetting the anthill and then inevitably starts roasting him with the magnifying glass.
Mm-hmm.
It might
Oh,
be
that
like
is
that.
interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's more of an explanation than we have.
Yeah,
Like at
yeah,
all.
for every yeah, comment section, everyone, go ahead and give us your interpretation of what it is. Even in the comment section on YouTube, go ahead and give us your theories on that because I want to hear them.
Yeah,
I want to hear them.
yeah.
There are no wrong answers in this dojo. In this particular dojo, there are no
Mm-hmm.
wrong answers
Mm-hmm.
because I think all of them will be hilarious and fun and
Creative, yeah.
it'll and creative, yeah, and kind of actually enhance your enjoyment, especially if you personify death like this completely put upon office worker who's like going, motherfucker, who keeps doing this?
It's all just goofy behind the scenes stuff in an office.
And then you find out it's like Milton from Office Space, like going, but he's doing my stapler. He's doing my stapler, and but I was told, but I could set Flight 180 on fire.
Oh God.
I just picture it. Just picturing it. Oh my God. So so let's go ahead and talk about, well, actually, let's talk about Clear Rivers, for example. For someone who dealt with this issue, she lives in probably the most dangerous fucking house of them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she
I
worked. I mean,
was so like, does she have a parental guardian? I know her parents are gone, but does she just live alone?
it's implied that she has absentee parents, probably even workaholic parents,
Well, she has
or
her dad died, and then her mom like abandoned her. That was her explanation. Her dad went out for cigarettes, and then he got shot by like a stray bullet or something. And then her mom didn't want to
yeah,
deal with having a kid anymore. She got married to somebody who didn't want a kid, so neither did she says. So she just kind of abandoned her. So I was like, who lives here? She doesn't have any parental guardians
yeah.
here.
Yeah, that is weird. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, yeah, they never actually clarified who the fuck she's living with now.
No
So,
idea. They're never home, whoever they are. So they're not home during that entire last scene.
and obviously giving her enough money to go on a plane trip to Paris. I mean,
Yeah.
hell, around that, my plane trip to London apparently cost somewhere in the ballpark of $2,000. So it's like,
Whew.
well, it was a travel package, so it wasn't just
Mm.
the flight. It was also the hotel. It was also some of the shows that we went to go see were part of the packet.
Oh,
So yes, it was a package tour. So that's why.
gotcha.
So evidently, in this case, it would have been the same thing. So it's obviously that she's able to afford that shit. So
Yeah.
yeah,
With as all that artist money she's bringing in.
you know what? It could be that because I will say her artwork was fascinating.
Very interesting metal sculptures that she's welding together in her front yard.
Yeah, haphazardly with a butane torch, jagged metal
That's
all
that
over the
girl boss
place.
energy.
Yeah, that girl boss hipster before there was ever such
Yeah.
a concept as hipsters. I mean, this is 2000s, the
Yeah.
birth of hipsters.
Oh
This
yeah.
is pre-Starbucks hipster
Yeah, right.
kind
What
of
did
thing. You know,
hipsters do before Starbucks?
obviously, offspring of hippies because her name is Clear Rivers.
Oh yeah. That name. I
That
think
fucking name.
I think when I was a kid, I always thought her name was Claire, and then I looked it up, and I was like, her
Yeah.
name's Clear Rivers. That's awesome and hilarious.
That's awesome, hilarious, and awful at the same time. It's like this poor girl.
It's so
No
early
one.
2000s.
All right. Okay. So, parents, all right. Any parents listening to this podcast, I implore you, think about what you name your child because they are going to be saddled with
Oh,
that shit for the rest of their life. My name is John Adams. I go by John Reed Adams because my middle name is not fucking Quincy.
aw.
Okay?
Oh
You
man.
got to think about that shit. Think
Hmm.
about what that means.
Hmm.
Now I got people, saying like, "Oh, Mr. President, why aren't you fixing this shit?" And I'm like going, because if I did,
Jesus.
yeah, because you don't want me as your president, because I guarantee you will disagree with a lot of the shit I do.
That's it's unfortunate because it's a common name too, but it's like, oh man, one person ruined it for all of us.
Yeah, kind of. So, yeah, so please don't name your child. If you're going to name your child, if you're going to actually, speaking of names, if you actually look at it, like the surnames of pretty much every character is of like some kind of horror icon. I mean, Alex is Alex Browning,
Hmm.
Todd Browning.
Hmm.
One of the FBI's agent's last name is Shrek,
Oh really?
which I'm like, you do realize Max Shrek, that was a stage name, right? No one in real
Hmm.
life, his last name is Shrek.
This guy's had it. Well, that's cool.
That does lead me to wonder about all those famous dictators and all this. Like, do you think a lot of the people in his life who shared his name, like, because I'm pretty sure there were other Hitlers outside
Mm,
of Adolf's family. So it's like going, I'm pretty sure a lot of them probably
oof.
changed their names after
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, you can't come back from that, unfortunately.
No, you can't.
If
You can't at all. Yeah. But that was actually a fun little thing on the side. And that's actually something I've noticed a lot of other horror movies do where they name their characters after like hell, Hello Mary Lou Prom Night 2, one of my favorites. Every single one of the characters have a horror director's last name
Oh, that's cool.
in that sucker. Yeah,
That's a
that's always
fun
been,
Easter egg.
it's a fun Easter egg, but one that I've noticed now is kind of, well, double standard. Actually, in our version of One Act of the Dead that we did, I actually named my character George D'Amato.
Hmm.
directing a zombie film, George Romero,
Yeah,
Joe D'Amato, two famous
mhm.
zombie film directors. So it's like, yeah, I'm guilty of that sin myself, so I'm not one to judge.
Hey man, as long as you're having fun.
I am having fun. I am absolutely having fun. So, uh, with Alex during his entire journey, yeah, he goes on this big old paranoid, you know, thing where he's like in the actually fun little bit of trivia. That's the same cabin from Lake Placid.
Oh, is it? Okay. I figured it had to be
Yeah,
something famous.
yeah. But after that, he goes. One bit I have to laugh about because I got to comment on his app strength is that he's rolling down. There's one bit where he's falling down the woods, like obviously down a little, crevasse or something like that. And then he actually, God knows how he's able to see it, is able to do a perfect
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
before he gets
Stop and hold
impaled.
himself right before a stick impales in his face. Although the question being, would that have worked? Like, could that have killed him? Because it wasn't his turn, as he discovers when he's in the cabin. He thought he had it all figured out. He was figuring out that the pattern death is taking has to do with where they were sitting on the plane, which I thought is very clever. And the movies do continue to have a clever little like, this is how you know who's going to die next pattern, which I like.
Yeah.
So he thinks he has it all figured out. And then he's like, whoops, I forgot. I switched seats. So
Yeah.
Clear is actually next. And he's in this cabin locked away in the woods. And he's like, shit, now I got to get over to her to help save her. And now
Yeah.
the FBI is on his ass because they find
In
the
the most-
cabin.
Yeah. It has to save her from those flammable fucking house, like in the face of the planet.
Dude, that
Like
house was just exploding by the time he got there.
electrics are like blasting out everywhere. Even when she gets into her house, even in her
Yeah.
fucking room, the
It
electrics
just starts
are like
following her through the house. Like, this electricity is alive.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, she's in Monster House. Jesus Christ.
Thought you were safe in your house. How dare you? So yeah,
Yeah.
I think he could not have died anyway because it was not his time.
And I think you might be right there. I mean, because again, it would definitely, well, Final Destination 2 actually does kind of allude to this idea is that if death is not ready for you to die yet, then yeah, you can,
You will not die.
yeah, then you will not die. So,
Mhm.
I mean, one could say with Carter, when he tries his little self-destructive rant that he does, is that, yeah, he was never meant to die, but it was all in aid of killing Bill.
Mhm.
Yeah, killing Billy.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, so in all likelihood, it was never about him to begin with.
Mhm.
So, now,
Well, of course, he was meant to get stuck on the tracks and stuck in the car, which he did not
yeah,
plan on happening. But then Alex intervened and saved him just by being there, I guess, just by existing
yeah.
in the scene. I don't know why Death didn't see that coming, but whatever.
It could even be hinted at the idea that the one who sees the prophecy may even be an essential cog in Death's design. That maybe Death does intend for these people to be killed in these specific ways.
Right.
It's just that maybe he needs something to help move everything into that position. So you could say that these prophecies do come from Death himself because these people need to be in a specific spot in order to make it work.
Yeah, and that all goes back to the idea that maybe he is just amusing himself. He's just playing a game because he's bored.
Yeah. Again, there's no
It's
wrong.
true.
I think that's
No wrong
fun. There's
answer, but
no wrong
I like
answers in
that.
this.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's actually pretty cool. Okay, I now love the series even more just thinking about that. That's
I love the
great.
lack of explanation even more.
It's the Mad Libs of horror franchises right there. Yeah, it's pretty great. So, well, actually, speaking of things that plot elements that didn't get done, but funny enough, were recycled for later. The ending that we got in this movie is not the ending that ultimately was the ending that it was meant to be. In fact, actually, they did an ending, but test audiences didn't like it, and but because the studio really liked what they were doing with this movie and they saw the potential in it, they actually put a shit ton more money in order to get the ending that we got.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, specifically the ending where you know what, I got to give it to them for having the mental fortitude and the courage to get back on a goddamn plane to go to Paris.
6 months later, not even a year later.
Yeah, I mean, would you?
No. But I mean, stick close to Alex because if something's happening, that guy knows about it.
Well, just avoid bricks, but more on that later.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's tragic.
That's tragically stupid.
Oh,
Tragically stupid.
he
But
should
yeah,
he should have just died by the electrocution. That would have been a way more ceremonious death for that character.
which is what
100%.
was, yeah, which was actually meant to be the ending. He was actually supposed to die by
Oh,
electrocution.
I would have preferred
Uh,
that.
yeah, no, he was supposed to die by electrocution, because he wanted to basically upset Death's pattern by dying, even though Death had not intended for him to die at that moment.
Huh.
So basically, he wanted to take the bullet for her. But there was also an additional plot thread, which they don't use here, but they would use in Final Destination 2. Well, in this movie, Clear and Alex were supposed to become a much more substantial item. There was actually supposed to be a much more defined love story between the two of them, to the point where they, slap skins, um, and ultimately Clear ends up becoming pregnant with Alex's kid.
Mhm.
And the movie was supposed to end with her giving birth to his child, and because with new life, contradicts death, the pattern is destroyed, and both her and Carter wind up surviving.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, as a
Huh.
result of it. So that's how it was supposed to end. So
Hmm.
whereas instead we get a much more spectacular, honestly, a big,
I
wonderful, like,
like the ending we got. Yeah, I like
honestly,
that because it sets it up
there's
for a
a
perfect sequel of like, if this happens again, y'all are how you gonna beat me this time, huh?
yeah, and it does actually hit home the idea that death is inevitable no matter what you do.
Hmm.
So there is that idea, is like death. Yeah, sure, death may not be at you like all the time, but ultimately death is patient. Death will
Yeah.
say,
Oh yeah.
"I'm gonna be coming for you no matter
Yeah.
what." Just
Have 6 months off. Go to Paris. I don't care. See what
yeah,
happens.
go to Paris, enjoy a cafe, and
Yeah.
I will say though, it was money well spent for that finale, because I will say that set piece with the sign just swinging back
Hmm.
and forth, I was like, that
That
was
says
impressive.
180. Like it's just always
Yeah.
a nod to Flight 180.
Yeah, which actually does carry through the franchise. Like the number 180 like
Yep.
appears like multiple times throughout the
Yep.
franchise. So that's actually pretty cool. But this one this one in particular, I have to admit, normally I'm against it when focus groups end up changing the course of a movie, but this is one of those ones where I think it's so loose
Hmm.
with its premise that, I mean, on a emotional level, I guess the original ending does fit. And it does, and they do recycle that for later movies about the idea
Hmm.
of new life counteract or uh negates death, which I think is a fun.
Somehow.
Well, well, I think for
Why would he
that we
just
should probably.
stop chasing you just because there's a new child involved?
I wonder it. Well, I think for that we have to kind of get into, like, well, this is kind of some Doctor Who philosophy here, but the idea of, well, because Doctor Who even tackled this idea, the idea of what happens when you save someone who was meant to die. Like their whole, and they've done it multiple times where someone is meant to die. It's like a fixed point in time. This has to happen because other things need to happen.
Mhm.
And people don't think about it, but a life is important. Like one life, everything we do and say, even if we don't think it, affects things other later on.
Mhm.
Even just when we interact with people, just a smile you give someone could actually, like, change their entire mindset. It could make them feel confident. It could make them feel hopeful, and it could make give them like some kind of like inner strength to do something later on. So it begs the question that if it happens that someone, hell, you could even say that would have intended that to happen, where nudging Alex and Claire together, they bang and she has his kid, and that kid is a life that comes from Death's pattern.
Mhm. Because
So
yeah, none of
there's
that
a
would have happened if it weren't for this whole situation. She said you never even spoke to me 4 years of high school, and then all of a sudden this happened.
Exactly. Yeah, and if things had just progressed as normal and just, nothing like it, they probably would never have seen each other.
Mhm.
And this child that would have been born from this adversity that they both had to share together. Now we have a child in this world that is a product of that tragedy, and
Mhm.
thus that life is out there contributing something to the fabric of existence. So that, wow. I need a joint right now so I could just like complete the look where I'm just like,
Wow, man, you ever thought about Final
wow.
Destination, man?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's like, what's that about?
It's like life and death.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's deep, man. So deep.
I think though the ending they gave us kind of I like the because it cuts right to credits after it happens. It just leaves you with
Oh,
this
it's so
feeling
good.
of horrifying dread of just like, ha ha ha, 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 they
Yeah.
didn't escape it.
Yeah, and New Line was distributed. Well, New Line was the studio that produced this one, and they are the masters of kicking off a franchise by changing a movie's ending, as they legendarily did
Oh.
with Nightmare on Elm Street.
Mm-hmm.
Change out the ending of that one, but we get ourselves. Some people have argued that may have like ruined the intent of the movie, but it didn't matter because we got a fucking franchise out of it. So,
Yeah, yeah,
Final Destination kind of did the same thing,
makes sense.
though in the franchise to come, I mean it even if they did stick with that happy ending, they still could have had their sequels
Sure. Oh
because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
all the sequels to come revolved around always seemed to be like just in name only sequels, but they all just happen to take place in the same universe.
Yeah, it's a new set of cast. It's a new tragedy that happens. It's a new like set of like the prodigy is a different person. Like yeah, even like
Yeah.
how they see these visions change over time.
Hmm. Oh yeah. And yeah, so this was one that was kind of destined to become a franchise. I just wasn't expecting it to, though I think in the times to come we will end up kind of discussing whether or not some of these worked or not. And I definitely have I will
Yeah.
say I do have feelings about one of them. Definitely one of them, but that will be saved for the time to come.
What negative
So
ones? What are you talking about?
yeah, I
We don't
well
have
this is
negative feelings about 3D movies.
see that still doesn't give it away because the latter two were 3D. Ah,
Ah.
ah, exactly. Even that. Now we'll talk about that later. But
Mhm.
wow. Is there anything else you want to add to the discussion about this particular entry in the series, or do we?
I think that pretty much covers it all. I am excited about this exploration.
Yeah, I kind of after I deliberately in preparation for this at the second you said you want well, and also because of the new movie, I was able to find a box set with all of them in it. And actually, I'm not gonna lie, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? This is a pretty damn good box set because it is
Ah,
not
yes.
only does it have all five of them, it actually has like all the features that were on each and every. Because the other cool thing about this franchise, this came out right at the dawn of DVDs
Hmm.
when DVDs were one of the most popular things about them was the features. So every
Yeah.
single one of these is loaded with the features that were the ones that were on the DVDs when they initially came out. So this is pretty stacked. So
Yeah.
I'm actually really happy I picked this one up. Um, so let's see. I get to for something that we kind of carry through. Let's go ahead for a final wrap up. Let's go ahead and rank. I guess we'll kind of take a cue from Dead Meat here. So, what was your favorite death in the premonition, and what was your favorite death in the aftermath, in the after the premonition? So that's what we'll do
Oh,
right
you're
there.
talking like so in the like the plane crash? The
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, before we even get into that, we haven't even really talked about the set piece of this of the crash itself. I
God, I
mean,
would love to have been there. I love disaster sets like so much.
yeah, and that was on a gimbal. I know that was there's a special set rig that they do where they put the entire set on this rig that's like above ground, so that way they could rock it. And from what I understand, the cast were freaked out
Oh
by that
yeah.
because yeah, the,
Yes.
yeah, so that's so good. I think the only other movie I think around that came out around that time that actually did the interior of a plane in the midst of a plane crash was a Fight Club.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Did that, but this is the time I ever saw it where it was like a fucking blazing inferno where Devin Sawa gets his face roasted. I think that might be my. Also, I admit, I'm also just thinking. I love that one line where they're going, "Yeah, it would have to be a pretty fucked up god to
Yep.
kill
And
this
then
one."
because
But
of the baby, they're like, "Oh no, it's a good thing. It had to be a pretty fucked up god to take down this plane." And then they see a disabled man in the front seat as well, and they're like, "A really fucked up god."
yeah,
So what does that
and I think that
say?
what does that say? Well, that just goes to shit. Well,
That don't
that
give a
all
shit.
depends. I mean, is God death in this instance? I mean, or is death God? I
Nobody
mean,
nobody thinks about it like that. They think about well, God controls our life and death. I'm like, what about fucking death? Death doesn't care. They don't care about any of us. We're all
death
gonna
doesn't just
die.
death like any slasher, like any great slasher, does not discriminate.
Yeah,
That's always the thing that lends credence to the idea of Michael Myers just being pure evil is the fact that Michael does not discriminate
does not
against
care.
anyone he kills. Contrary to what pissed off firemen and pissed off gay people think about Halloween Kills, Michael Myers kills indiscriminately. It didn't matter
Hmm.
who you were
Yeah.
squatting in his house. He would go
Hmm.
and kill your ass no matter what, because you're in my house, bitch.
Yeah.
That being said, have some respect for Big John and Little John. They actually renovated the shit out of that house and it looked gorgeous. Yeah, but that's something for another day. So, justice for Big John and Little John. I love them. They were adorable. But yeah, which gives credence to the idea that death is just as powerful of a slasher as all the greats.
Oh yeah.
Right there. Yeah. And his mask is just the mask of anonymity.
And I do appreciate every one of the sequels trying to come up with a way to defeat him. That's kind of new. They're like, okay, we don't want to keep giving you guys movies where you know everybody's going to die. So why don't we give you hope that we figured it out this time? We have a rule that death is not going to be able to get around this time, I promise.
Yeah. All right. So now we got the game. So in the plane crash, what would you say was your best in premonition death?
It went so quickly in this one. So like the future premonition deaths, I feel like were slower so that you could really like hunt and peck for the this was just like one thing after another was going on, which my God, that plane exploding when it actually happened went way faster than what happened in his premonition.
Yeah, well, there's always that idea, and one could even say it's that idea that was alluded to in the movie Wanted, just the idea that your adrenaline is pumping and time kind of
everything down. Oh, I know.
Slows down.
Like 5 seconds is really, really long when you're being tased. Let me tell you that.
Oh yeah, see, there you go. There you go. Or it's kind of like when you're just doing a workout and you're doing like a timed set and you keep thinking like, oh man, 30 seconds, that's not too long. And then you're in the midst of doing your workout and like going, how many seconds left?
How long is a plank supposed to last?
Oh yeah, exactly. How long is a goddamn plank supposed to last?
That's a time wormhole. If you ever do a plank, 30 seconds becomes 5 minutes.
I just had a workout session yesterday, and my trainer had me going on for a minute, and I'm like, there's no fucking way.
Come on, just 15 more seconds. What? There's no way.
No way.
I would say, aside from, because it's pretty fantastic to see Alex's face just engulfed in flames. The only other part of it that I keep remembering is the people getting sucked out of the wall because they're burnt too. They just got like lit on fire and then they got sucked out of the plane. And I'm like, that's gnarly, man.
It's like, well, let's see with that. Speaking of time slowing down, that'd be a horrifying thought. The idea you get set on fire and then launched out the goddamn plane.
Now you gotta fall.
So it's like you're burning.
Yeah.
You're begging to hit the ground.
Yeah.
You're begging to hit the ground because you're burning right now.
And you're strapped to a seat.
And you're strapped to a fucking seat.
That's a horrible way to go.
It is a pretty damn terrifying way to go, man. Just the idea that the plane just explodes like right then and there.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be one thing to be on a plane where it's going down. See, when a plane's going down, I mean, there's still that uncertainty where you don't know. I mean, for all we know, you may have like a kick-ass pilot who's able to land the sucker where just it'll be a rough landing, but you'll come out of it okay. But then there's that idea like, what if it's Sully and it's like, and he's drunk off his ass?
Oh yeah.
Or no, not Sully. The one with Denzel Washington. Yeah, Denzel Washington was one where he was the drunk.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I'm getting my bad pilot movies mixed up. My shitty pilot heroes.
There's so many of them.
Way too many. Funny enough.
Which, by the way, it takes him about, I think, like a third of the way into the movie to explain even why this plane exploded. It was some faulty wiring that was underneath the seats, and it led all the way through the plane. And it's just like, you guys barely explained why that plane exploded so easily.
Yeah. From my limited, now, I mean, my dad used to work with planes, so I'm pretty sure if he watched this movie, he would deconstruct why that shit would never work. But
that's why it was just on the news in the background, like, you're not meant to listen to it.
Well, but again, that also lends credence to the idea that death is not bound by the common rules of the common natural laws of physics.
With its water sucking into the toilet ways.
Yeah, with its water sucking ways. Or its vodka burning ways.
Vodka burning.
or computer monitors that are
exploding.
Yeah, computer monitors with nitroglycerin wiring that just launches glass like a friggin' Billy the Puppet.
I was just gonna say it's very Billy the Puppet how that thing exploded at him.
It had a saw 4,
shrapnel right in the neck.
Yeah.
Like, John should have just used faulty wiring for everything. It would have been perfect.
I know.
Just start dripping vodka on everything.
Yeah, John
see what happens.
John Kramer's like, oh, hello, death. Let's touch base on here. Let's see how will this work if I engineer
Listen, Dad.
if I engineer the shotgun carousel to do this. Like, how is it? And then
He's like,
Death is
listen,
like,
man, I had to create a bomb and like a timer and all this. And Death is like, just pour some vodka on it. Thanks, Death. Watch it explode.
yeah. I think for myself, yeah, it would definitely have to be the well, just Alex getting a face full of fire, just because that's just something that when you see it coming, that's just a horrible thought. But then just,
Yeah.
well, I've heard that when I've heard who people suffer third degree burns. Apparently, it's said that it burns your nerves so bad that you don't feel it at all. But
Uh,
that's just like a horrifying thought in itself, because in order to get a burn like that, that means your flesh is just
yeah.
truly Krispy Kreme.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, crispy critter by that point. So that's a horror. That's just a terrifying thought. Just the idea that the plane explodes midair,
Yeah.
that it doesn't even actually crash. That's just a
Yeah.
terrifying thought. Period. So I know so many people. I've heard of so many people who are terrified to fly because of
Oh
this
yeah.
opening
Oh, and I
premonition.
and I and I think that's going to be a pattern we're going to see with movies, how that opening premonition makes people afraid of various things.
Oh yeah, one that has become increasingly meme worthy over the years
Mm-hmm.
since it came out,
Mm-hmm.
but that is something for the next episode. So so let's go ahead and go on to our post premonition death. Which one would you say was the top one in that regard?
I would say the teacher's death because that just it was just so many elements. You had the music in there, you had the Rube Goldberg elements in there, and then it just kept on going. Like after
Yeah.
she's down, it's like let her die. She's dead already. No, we're gonna also set the house
She's
on fire.
already dead.
She's already dead, and then the house explodes, and then Alex is just so perfectly so bad at putting his fingers all over the crime scene. Like, dude,
Oh
come
my
on.
God, yeah. So bad at that.
Grabs a knife and then drops it and walks away with his bloody footprints everywhere. I'm like, Alex, my dude.
Yeah. Actually, I'm glad you brought up the music, because the music, I believe, for the first three entries in the series was done by Shirley Walker,
Oh yeah.
who most people will know, actually, most people, in my opinion, are obligated to know, was the lead composer and music supervisor on Batman the Animated Series.
Oh nice. Yeah.
But she would go on to do music for a lot of horror films, most notably another collaboration with her and writer Glenn Morgan, the remake of Willard,
Oh yeah.
woefully underrated remake. And also, I believe she worked on the Black Christmas remake with Glenn Morgan as well. So, but she is one that if you look on her resume, you'll come to the realization like, holy shit, she worked on all that. She is such an unsung uh, contributor to music composition in movies and television that it's kind of it's sad that no one really thinks about it. But man, the work, just the work she did alone on Batman the Animated Series is
Hmm.
insane.
Yeah.
And yeah, so thank you for bringing that up, because it reminded me, holy shit, Shirley Walker, we got to talk about her.
And I will
So
say it is interesting how like Final Destination, like a lot of horror movies, it doesn't really have a theme song, but it has like that's the Final Destination music at the beginning of this movie. Just that strings that
yeah,
like we're watching Final Destination.
yeah, it's funny how people associate string instruments with death. I think, I
Hmm.
think because I don't know, maybe it just be because of the imagery of Nero fiddling, just the idea that people, or just that sadistic idea of like when people say, oh, cue the violins, it's because people are like, or like the band plays all the way as the thing sinks. It's kind of like, I think it's just commonly associated with lamentation, I
Hmm.
suppose, when people start cueing the violins.
Yeah, and
So
it's done in such like a dark, ominous way where it's just like dread,
yeah.
very
For I
specific
my
dread.
So for I myself, my post premonition death, which I think just because game recognizes game, and just because, yeah, prior to it, I don't think it's ever been done prior to this moment. So I'm actually going to give it to the bus kill.
Oh yeah, really.
Just because,
Yep.
yeah, again, now that I'm remembering, I remember that death took everyone, just
Hmm.
shocked the shit out of everybody. And it's because I think prior to that, that death had never been done before,
Started a
prior to
movement
that
of bus
moment.
deaths. Nice.
Yeah, of just don't stand on the street. Do you stand on the street? Death, but it was the first one. I think it might have been the first one to do it. Again, comment section proved me wrong, but to my recollection, that was the first time I'd ever seen it done. And I remember a lot of people jumping out of their seat when that happened.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm. Hmm.
so credit where it's due on that. So,
And that was an interesting premonition he had, where like he's having a conversation with Clear, and he sees the bus in like the window as like a
yeah,
reflection, but it's not really there. So like you saw that, but you kind of forgot about it by the time it actually happens, and you're like, oh yeah, that's what he just saw. So
yeah, and he
like
keeps
even though
having
it
like,
hinted at it, you still didn't see it coming.
Yeah, no, that was a good one. Well, then there's also the other one which reveals that, oh, come on, Alex, get a better taste in porn. Come on, Penthouse, really? You know,
Deserve to be
y-
shredded by a fan.
yeah, yeah, shredded, damn good fan. I mean, hell, that fan in and of itself is a goddamn
Yeah.
death trap if it's able to shred an
Yeah.
entire goddamn magazine.
Yeah, they don't make
You
fans
know,
like that anymore.
no, they don't. That's like finger chopping fan right
Yeah.
there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, kind of thing. But yeah, but the fact is, his prophecy in that one amounts to like his porn getting shredded right there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Death might actually be Bobby's mom from Bobby's World. Like, oh no, don't you be looking at that penthouse, don't you know?
No
And
relief
that,
for you. It was supposed to be a moment of like I got to take my mind off of this and stop stressing out. And Death was like, I don't think so. That's
yeah,
not happening.
come on, I gotta rub one out. I just
Mm.
gotta like relax. And it's
No,
like,
no, no. You're on
nope,
the clock, Alex. You're on the clock.
no, no,
Get over to Todd's house right now.
yeah, you're gonna be dangling those blue balls, while you go save Todd, kind of thing. So, but that's something that's another thing that does kind of take shape in different parts of the franchise, where some just balls out continue having visions,
Mhm.
whereas other ones have to rely on some kind of plot device in order to deconstruct who's going to die next.
Right.
And that's an interesting thing that they tend to carry over in later entries, but more on that as time goes on.
Mhm.
So, yep, that was Final Destination 2000. Honestly, really happy I took the time to revisit slash visit this one, and I'm really glad you recommended it. So
Of course.
yeah. So since we last saw you, actually, one that we didn't mention, thank for everybody, it was utter bliss. We still talk about it. We had so much fun with you when you flew over for us to go to Spookala and had like our Saw family unite for the very first time.
That was so wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead and tell everyone your experience with, like, actually vividly. Go ahead and tell people your experience with Shawnee Smith.
Yeah, when I explain this interaction with anybody, and I have several times since I gotten back home, I feel like a kid who's making shit up just to sound cool. Because it
Oh,
doesn't
it's
it
I can verify, people,
feels
it was true.
it was true. I have footage that it happened.
It
Well,
happened.
we got there when they opened, which was from your experience, the right
A
way to
very
do it.
smart
And
move, yeah.
you're absolutely right about that. We got there before she even got to the table, so I got to stand in line and wait. And when she got there, she was hanging out up by the table, talking to her handler, not started signing yet because they're just chilling at the beginning of the day. And she sees me through the line. I'm wearing my Saw 2 Amanda costume, covered in needles. She sees me through the line, and I just see this look of like amazement come over her face, which I will never forget the look in her eyes when she
Oh.
saw me. And she came through the line. People made a hole for her because, they're here to see her. She made it through the line to me and hugged me, which, my God,
Oh.
like, I was so terrified, but
Oh.
could have never guessed that I could have had such an amazing interaction with her. And she looked over my needles and asked me how I did it. And then I gave her a gift. I made a really miniature reverse bear trap for her to have because I want her
Oh.
to have a piece of my art. And she was amazed by it. She was like, "You made this?" Like, yeah. She's like,
Hmm.
"How did you make this?" And told her how I made it. And it's my design of my head trap that I built. And she went over and showed it to Tobin Bell, and everybody was like, "Look, she's showing it to him." And it
Yes.
was just such an incredible feeling. And like, even though the line of fans were just like, "I am so happy that happened to you," and just like it was just an incredible feeling. Even just talking about it, I just get all giddy. It's like I'll never forget it.
Yeah, when you said that you got the flight and that you were coming to Spookala, I got so freaking excited just because it made me happy that I was able to play a part in like
Oh yeah.
being able to help you get out there to have this meeting, because I knew you were gagging for this meeting for like ages. But even for extra bonus, not only did you get to meet Shawnee, you also got to meet Tobin Bell at the same time. And
Mhm.
on my side of it, while you were out there in that line, and we were predicting you were going to take a while, we were actually worried that because Tobin, for obvious reasons, his line was gargantuan.
Mhm.
And I was like worried that you were basically going to be spending your entire day in line. So me, Lynn, and Ellie, who was our Billy the Puppet, all were waiting in line very patiently in the stand. Actually, no, we were in the prepaid line
Mhm.
for Tobin. So the line was moving slightly faster, but not as fast as VIP, obviously.
Mm.
But we were worried that that was well, even then we were worried that you were just going to have to be spending the day in line. But fortunately, the people who ran the line, first off, they also loved, not only did they love you, they loved me and Lynn, who Lynn, of course, was busted out there, Hoffman, which was
Yeah.
also much to my delight a big hit. And also they
Awesome.
basically loved all of us.
Hmm.
We were a hit. All of us combined were a hit at Spookala, so that made me happy.
I felt
But then
secondhand famous because of all that.
yeah, no, you were we all of us together. We were all that's not
Yeah.
secondhand. We were
Well, we're
all units.
secondhand
So,
to them. They're the famous
yeah.
ones. We're just being
Oh
them.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, in cosplay fame terms, I think all of us were a big hit. But which is funny because there was actually another Saw family there that was equally great. There was a
Yeah.
really great jigsaw that does
Oh yeah.
that was actually schlepping around an oxygen tank.
I've never
And he
seen it
looked
before. That's
great.
incredible.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome. But for us, we were worried that you were going to be that after you got out of Shawnee's line, but just the timing was so perfect. You got out of Shawnee's line like right on time, and the handlers of the line knew that you were with us, so they let you join us like in
Yeah.
line with each other,
That
and that
was that was incredible because yeah, Lynn grabbed me and was like, come on, like we're going to the front of this line over here, which I was totally okay with being like I was there to meet them. I was totally okay with being in his line all day and whatever. But that just really helped me out to be able to hang out with you guys all
yeah,
day.
precisely. And well, and the cool part is everyone in line was cool with it because they saw very blatantly that you were with us. And I
And
think a
with
lot of
them,
people, yeah, well, and beyond that, also the fact that I think a lot of people knew that you were in Shawnee's line, and a lot of people who were there last year when Shawnee was there remember legendarily how long that line took.
yeah.
So I think they were all like sympathetic. They were like going, and even then they saw you and they thought, "Holy fuck, you look amazing! You got to be with your crew." Um, so yeah, that's how it turned out, and yeah, we got to meet Tobin. All of us got to meet Tobin, and he was basically as uh, I think the word I guess poised would be a good word. He was definitely a
He's
gentleman.
stoic. He's a stoic man. He is Jigsaw. Like that's just his calm demeanor and it's intimidating and cool at the same time.
It's that idea, but he also just seems like a person who's very I think this is the best word to describe him is that he definitely seems to be that academic person. He just seems to be that
Hmm.
kind of person who's obviously very great. He's gracious. I think
Hmm.
that's the word I'm going for. He's very gracious. Yeah, intimidating is one thing, especially with me. I'm walking up to him dressed like him. I always, even though I know I shouldn't be weirded out by that, I mean, hell, I mean, me and Kevin Van Henterick like that. But because I walked up dressed up like him. I'll still say the scariest time I've ever walked up to someone dressed like them was when I initially met Paul McGann,
Ooh.
the Eighth Doctor. When I came up to him dressed like them, at that time I was terrified. That was the first time I ever done it. I swear to God, I kept thinking, "Oh God, there's gonna be like single white female." Um, I was so terrified about it, but man, sometimes they love it.
Yeah.
They love it. But yeah, Tobin was the one guy who I was like, God, I gotta match his level when it comes to like being to not sound like a fucking lunatic. I'm pretty sure I failed, but
No.
I'm pretty sure I failed, but simultaneously, Tobin didn't make me feel like I failed. I
Right.
just have a low opinion of myself. So
Oh
how was
no,
your
that was why I was nervous to meet her because my brain isn't very kind to me and it's going to judge everything I say and do. I was like, I know she was going to be wonderful. I was worried about how I would feel towards how
well?
I reacted.
Well, I remember when I told you. I hope that gave you some calm because yeah, no, Shawnee, when we finally did get up to her in our line, man, was she just wonderful. Just everything
Yeah.
about her was sweet.
Oh yeah.
So no, so was Tobin good for you too?
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. I just said it's a real honor to meet you and I'm
Was
really
he
glad
was
you're here.
he equally as hypnotized by your needles?
It's hard to tell with Tobin because he's just so like just calm all the time.
Yeah.
So it was hard. It
I
was hard
kind
to
of think like
tell, but
that.
I don't know. But
Yeah, but no, that was wonderful. And honestly, and now you're dropping the hint that you want to join us for Spooky Empire in October. So
yep.
we gonna be getting up to some revelries once again.
Oh
So
yeah.
oh yeah, we gonna get it. So anything else, since we saw you last, have you gotten a chance to watch any new horror movies that you'd like to recommend to anybody, new or old, doesn't matter?
As everybody's raving about right now, I just got to see the advanced screening before it came out of Sinners, which I think is a pretty
Ooh.
fantastic vampire movie.
Oh my God, yeah. No, that's one that I know me and Natalie are probably going to be doing a big old episode on that because there's a
Nice.
lot to break down
Oh
about that
yeah.
movie.
Hmm.
Yeah, for I myself, yesterday, I did a triple feature. That was the first time in my life I've ever done a triple feature because I'm on Regal Unlimited,
Nice.
so I'm able to do that. But I actually went to see a triple feature of Rosario, Thunderbolts, and The Surfer with
Oh
Nicolas
yeah, how
Cage.
was that?
All right, well, Rosario, that one on a technical level, I will say the editing was pretty choppy.
Mhm.
But it kind of reminded me of movies like The Vigil and oh God, what was the other movie I compared it to? But it definitely reminded, oh, and Drag Me to Hell.
Okay.
Basically, it's a story about a girl who, um, as a little girl, her family were immigrants. They came to America, and she, of course, she wanted, of course, do well in America. And what she ends up, and she actually winds up doing really, really well years down the line. Well, she gets word that her grandmother, her abuela, has died, and she has to go to her apartment to watch over the body before the coroner comes to pick it up. But she finds out that her grandma, her abuela, got up to some pretty crazy shit, hinting at the idea that she might be cursed.
Ooh.
And so it's in a way it's a chamber horror film because practically the bulk of it takes place in her abuela's apartment, and it's all about her trying to figure out this curse. Um, it's one of those ones where I was really consistently engaged with it all the way through. It really did a good job talking about. There's definitely a very heavily cultural slant to the story, which I really appreciated, and it was definitely eye-opening. It definitely had a theme of the idea of the importance of not forsaking your roots and also not forsaking the sacrifices that your parents, the legitimate sacrifices that your parents make to give you a better life.
Mhm.
That is a good life lesson there. And for extra measure, David Desmalchin's in it, so that's a win. Automatically, that's a win. That's another thing about Spookalo. We got to meet David Desmalchin, and he was just big old. For the brief time we got a chance to meet him, he was a sweetheart. The Surfer, that was a wild, trippier than I expected. That movie is a freaking psychedelic trip. But it was a incredible throwback to early 70s exploitation. And like any classic exploitation film, for some reason there's a token American actor in it, even though it's
Mhm.
Australian.
Mhm.
I never realized Julian McMahon, Christian Troy from fucking Nip Tuck was Australian. I never knew that.
Oh.
Um, also would never have recognized him. He's got a freaking surfer tan going on. He is gray as hell. Definitely a different level of sploosh than he was in Nip Tuck. But
Mhm.
the film itself is extremely trippy is definitely the word I describe it. Nicolas Cage is, as usual, like giving himself to it. Like it is
Yeah.
a truly committed Cage performance, but not and definitely a much more restrained, Nicolas Cage. He doesn't do the classic Cage freak out like we know him for. But the film is well, this one is about a father who wants to buy back the house that he lived in when he was a kid, which happens to be on this beautiful stretch of beach. And he wants to take his son out there to surf, but then he gets immediately bombarded by the locals saying, "If you don't live here, you can't surf here."
Mhm.
And there's this kind of collision of entitlement. That idea is like he intends to live here, he wants to live here because he's
Yeah.
buying this house, but then he's dealing with the entitlement of the locals who are like,
Mhm. You flew here,
territorial.
we grew here, that thing.
Yeah, yeah, kind of thing. So that ends up kind of becoming like this battle of wits, and you see Nicolas Cage just go on this odyssey where he is just losing everything because of
Mhm.
this obsession he has with wanting to get back something that he lost.
Cool.
But here he is competing with these people who have it now, and it's driving him
Mhm.
basically insane. So it's very psychological. It's one of those ones that I'm pretty sure is going to be a lot to unpack, and I know it will not be everyone's cup of tea, but I will say it was one that I ended up watching. I went to go see that at a 10 o'clock screening, and I was worried I was going to be too damn drowsy,
Mhm.
after Thunderbolts. But then I was like, nope, nope, I was good on this all the
Good.
way through. I
Nice.
mean, there's that frustrating edge where I keep going, dude, just fucking let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Can't.
Let
There
it
won't be a movie
go.
then.
I kept having Elsa echoing in my head, let it
Let it go.
go, let it go. And I'm like, God fucking hell. But
Nope.
again, you're right. You wouldn't have a movie, but that's kind of the theme of this movie is like this entitlement this guy has
Yeah.
to, you know, it's a wicked little film. It's one of those ones that I would tell people watch it because I want to see your reaction to it.
Definitely gonna have to look it up then.
Oh yeah, no idea where it's going to be streaming, but it was one I was really happy I was able to get a chance to see. Next week, it's Clown in a Cornfield is coming out, which I've heard great things about. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely excited to give that a go. And I think Fear Street Prom Queen is supposed to be coming out pretty soon too.
Okay.
Yeah. So, all right, everybody, that
Beautiful.
is Final Destination. Everyone else, as usual, Emily, go ahead and give people your socials.
I am on Instagram as AZ Amanda Young, as well as on YouTube as Lady White Rabbit, even though I've been absent there for quite some time.
I know what that's like. I've been at complete, with the exception of pimping out my show, haven't really been. Oh, and for everyone, by the time this episode airs, we would probably be entering into the last week of One Act of the Dead. So yeah, I think so. Um, definitely get out to the Orlando Fringe Festival to see it. It will be so yeah, just go to orlandofringe.org, pull it up, just look up One Act of the Dead. Check that out. Hopefully by this point the show is a massive hit and that everyone loves it and wants to see it worldwide. We go on a national tour. I'd fucking love that, but I'm not.
Just remember us little people when you're there.
Oh, are you kidding me? Y'all are probably gonna be, if mostly I'm probably gonna have some of y'all in the show, to be honest.
Hell yeah.
The way it's, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. Honestly, I could see you like in this show. You'd be great in this show.
Oh, since you showed it to me, I'm all over it.
Oh, that's right. I did. That's right. When you were with
Yeah.
us. That's actually, I was going to ask you, did we succeed in getting you to sign up for Shudder, or did you, are you still?
Not yet, but
Ah.
yeah.
Because we bombarded you with Shudder all
No.
weekend.
If I got it, I would just be locked inside watching horror movies daily and nightly, man.
Just watching Joe Bob, binging Joe
Yeah.
Bob. Yeah, because because you got to watch Joe Bob the first time, and you got to watch one of my new favorite slashers. Yeah, you got to watch Intruder.
Oh, and also Late Night with the Devil. Like, goddamn, you show me some great stuff.
Late Night with the Devil and In a Violent Nature
As
well.
What a nature documentary that was.
Thank you. That's what I call it. All right, everyone. So stay tuned. Like I said, for the month of June, it's going to be Pride Month. We're going to kick it off with Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Since Friday the 13th lands on it, we're going to be doing our commentary on Friday the 13th Part 2. And we're going to reunite with Ruby Tombsday to do a episode talking about the wonderful 2B vampire film Slay. And I believe we've settled on talking about Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker for the end of the year, which Emily, if you have not seen that one is supremely fucked up.
Sounds
it is
fun.
it's one of those films with a heavy incest slant, which is so supremely fucked up. It's a profoundly fucked up film. That's the only way I could describe it, but it's so awesome at the same time. And then for July, it will be Nature Strikes Back month. We will be doing our celebration of the 50th anniversary of Jaws with a Jaws commentary. Then we're going to be doing Deep Blue Sea, Slugs, and Lake Placid as well. So we're pretty loaded for those months. But then we will reconvene to talk about death some more. All right.
Love it.
All right, we've been on long enough. So if you wish to delve into the dark bowels of human imagination, ask yourself the simple question, what's in the podcast?
Thank you for joining us on this edition of What's in the Podcast. If you find yourself hungry for more deep cuts into the gloriously morbid and macabre, you can also find us on TikTok, Blue Sky, and YouTube at Narcotic Casserole. You can also follow us on Instagram at Narcotic Casserole 25. Follow us if you dare.